that is what we are going to cover. So quite a bit of tools that we are going to understand over here. All right. Before I start off with that, any questions, any queries you guys have?
No, Rabbi, not from mine.
Okay.
Okay. No question, sir.
Okay. So I don't know what time you joined, Bharat, but just wanted to let you know that last session we finished off with AWS. We have completed AWS, and today we are going to start off with your DevOps. Now, as part of that, we are going to look at a bit
I
of,
saw the recording yesterday.
yeah, okay, okay. So as part of that, we are going to look at your Linux. So most of the time what happens is there are high chances that you might end up working with the Linux machines when we talk about your DevOps. So just to give you an overview, an idea as to what is a Linux machine, how you can walk through that, I will just show you those things. All right. So before I start off with that, what's your understanding of Linux machine? Okay, what do you think Linux is?
Linux is an operating system, so it is actually built something similar to Unix, and then it is actually mainly used for running servers.
Yep. So like how we have your Windows, right? So Windows is an operating system, right? It's an operating system that helps us to interact with your hardware, right? Your CPU, your memory. So it helps you to utilize all those things, right? So it's an operating system. Likewise, when we talk about your operating system, we have different types of operating system. Linux is one such operating system that we have. So give me 1 minute. Let me open this. I'll share my screen. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you're not able to see the screen. Yep. So Linux, it's an open source operating system. So unlike your Windows, which is a paid version, right? So if you need, like, let's say, if you want to install Windows 11, you need to have a license, right? You need to pay for that. So it's a proprietary operating system. But Linux is an open source operating system. So basically, anyone can use it, anyone can modify it, right? You can do whatever you want with this. So this was built on Unix operating system. So during the 70s period, we used to have this Unix operating system. So your Linux, it is based on this Unix operating system. All right. So this was developed by Linus Torvalds. So he's the person who developed this Linux operating system. Well, why this was developed? Simply because when this person he was trying to use Unix, it was very costly, it was very heavy, and he was not happy with it. So he started developing his own operating system, and that is where the Linux operating system was introduced. All right. So just like how we have your Windows XP, we have Windows 7, Windows 8, Mac OS, Linux is also an operating system. Okay, so Android, that's an operating system, right? But that is for your mobile phones. Likewise, we have your iOS, which is for your Apple devices. We have Mac OS, we have Windows. All these are your operating systems. Likewise, we have your Linux, which is an operating system for us. So generally, whenever we talk about your operating systems, it consists of different components. So you have the boot loader. So bootloader is the one that basically starts off the boot process. So like for example, I say when we click on the power button, so we are starting a laptop. So to start the laptop, we click on the power button, which is nothing but we are starting up the bootloader. So it will start booting up the operating system. So the software that manages the boot process of your computer, for most users, this will simply be a splash screen. that pops up and eventually goes away to boot into the operating system. Then you have the kernel. Now this kernel is responsible for verifying if all the resources are available or not, like the CPU, the memory, the peripheral devices, like how many USB ports you have, whether your CPU, how much of CPU you have, how much of memory you have. All that is managed by your kernel. So this is the core of any operating system you take. Okay, without a kernel, you will not have any operating system. So this will help you to manage your CPU, memory, any peripheral devices, and this is the lowest level of your operating system. Then you have your daemons. Now daemons are any background processes which are running in the background and they're running continuously. We call them as your daemons. So these are background services that either start up during the boot process or after you log into the desktop. For example, let's say you shut down your laptop, you start the laptop once again. If you look at the clock, it updates automatically. You don't have to do anything. So that's a daemon process which is running in the background. So it's running continuously. So that process, it starts automatically when you start the laptop or when you log in to your machine, right? Then you have your shell. Now shell is nothing but it's a command line interface which can be used to run the commands. So a command process that allows you to control the computer via commands typed in a text interface. So on your Windows machine, you have your command prompt, you have your PowerShell. That's a shell. In the Linux machine, likewise, we have terminals, which is a shell. So anywhere that you run the commands, you issue the commands, we can call that as your shell. And then finally, we have the graphical server. So this is the one that basically displays the graphics, any UI, user interface related things that will be taken care by your graphical server. So this is a subsystem that displays the graphics on your computer. Questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, whenever we talk about your Linux operating system, we have different options or varieties that are available in your Linux operating system. So, like let's say when we have Windows, when I say Windows, so we have Windows XP, we have Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and now we have Windows 11. So we have different flavors that you can choose from. Likewise, in Linux also we have different versions that you can choose from depending on your requirement. So from new users to hardcore users, you will find a flavor. So right, you will have an option available for you. So these versions, we call them as your distributions. All right, so nearly every distribution of Linux can be downloaded for free, burned onto disk, and installed. Right, so most of the Linux operating systems are free to use. So some of the popular Linux distributions or the Linux flavors that we have, so we have the Ubuntu, we have Linux Mist, we have Fedora, we have Debian, we have OpenSUSE, we have Red Hat, we have let me think, Kali Linux, we have CentOS. In AWS, we have your Amazon Linux. So all these are different flavors. These are different options that are available as part of our operating system. So some of the very popular operating systems that we have is Ubuntu, Red Hat, and CentOS. This is something very commonly used when we talk about your Linux operating systems. All right, so that's a small introduction about your Linux operating systems. The next thing we are going to look at is your some of your very basic commands, right? So what is your command line? Your command line is basically a interface where you can issue your commands. Any commands you want to pass, you can pass that on your command line, right? So basically interacting with your computer using very specific words, which we can call as commands, right? So if you're on your Windows machine, you might have Git Bash, or you might have PowerShell. You can use that. If you're on Linux machine, you can use the terminal, right? So the first command we are going to look at is your CD. So any idea what is this CD command?
Change directory.
Okay, what does it do?
We can move from one directory to another directory.
Correct. So at any point, see UI, you have UI, right? So you'll open up this. Let's say you'll open up this UI, and then maybe you wanna don't you're doing this. You're moving to other directories. You have this, but when we talk about your command line, right? You will have to run some commands to do that. So the first command we have is a cd, which is to change your directory. So if you want to move from one folder to another folder, so let's say you have a folder, let's say folder 1. Within this you have folder 2. Inside this you have folder 3. Right? So if you want to move from one folder to another folder, we can make use of your cd command. So let's say, for example, uh, right. So here I can use cd and then I can give the folder name, which folder you want to go. Okay. Now before that, I want to talk about this command, which is your pwd. So any idea what is this?
Path PWD, we will get the whole path.
Yeah, so this will basically print your working directory. What is your current directory? Okay, so what is your current path? So here if I run this pwd, so this is my current path, /users / the username, and then right now I'm inside the downloads folder, and this is the path. So at any point, if you're not sure in which folder you're in, and if you want to see that folder, if you want to see that path, we can make use of your pwd command. Then you have your ls. So any idea what is this?
List of commands. List of all the files.
So in the current folder, if you want to see what all files and what all folders you have, you can make use of this ls command. Currently in my downloads folder, these are all the files and folders that I have. So this is same as what you're seeing here in the UI. So if I go to download, so whatever you're seeing here, the same thing I'm seeing here in the command line. All right. So let's say I want to move to a folder. Okay. For example, let's say I want to go to my PPTs folder. Right. So I know that I have the PPT folder over here. If you're not sure, you can do an ls and you'll have to search through it. For example, it won't show here, but you can always find that. Now let's say I want to move to that folder. So I'll use cd and then that folder name. So in my case, the folder name would be this one, right? So underscore course underscore PPTs. Now, if you see, if I run this pwd, now my path has changed. So now inside this download folders, I have moved to this folder. And now if I run this ls command, this will show me all the files that I have inside that folder. Okay, so wow, I have so many things. That does not look right. Okay, so here only. So these are all the files I have. So starting from here, right? So all the PPTs is what I have. So this is same again, same as if I go over here, I will look for that folder. Let's say here, and whatever you have over here, the same files I have here in the command line. Questions with these commands?
No, Ravi, understood.
No, sir.
Okay. So cd, so you can use the cd command to change your directory. So at any point, if you want to change your directory, you want to move from one folder to another folder, you can make use of the cd command. Likewise, if you want to come outside the folder, right? Like you want to exit from that folder, you want to come back to the previous folder, then you can make use of this cd dot dot command. So here, let's say now I want to go back to the downloads folder, so I can use cd dot dot, and I'll be back to my downloads folder. You can use this in combination. So see dot slash. So each of these dot slash indicates one folder. So here I'm basically telling 1, 2, 3, 4 folders back. All right. That's your cd dot dot. Then we looked at your pwd. So pwd is to print your current working directory. You have the ls command, which is used to list your files. Now you also have this ls-l, which is your long listing. So ls-l. Now this is your long listing. Now this basically what it will do is it will show you the list of files, and it will also show you when these files were created, what is the size of the file, who is the owner of the file, and also your file permissions. So you will get additional details related to that file. All right, so that's your ls-l. The next command we have is your mkdir. So any idea what is mkdir?
Make directory. We can use while creating a directory mkdir.
So in Linux world, the folders that we have, we call them as your directories. All right. So this is used to create new folders. So at any point, if you want to create any new folders, you can make use of this mkdir command. So here, let's say I want to create a new folder. So I can say mkdir, and let's call this as a folder name, whatever you want. And this will create a new folder for me. So if I look for that, here you see this one. There's the folder. And if I use ls-l, new folder, so you can see August 1st, your time, and what is the size of it. All right, so mkdir is whenever you want to create any new folders, you can make use of this mkdir command. Then you have the touch command. So any idea what is touch?
No ideas. Empty folder.
At any point, if you want to create any files, like a text file, empty text files, you can make use of the touch command. So here, now let's say I will go to that folder. So you see this is empty. So I run the ls command. I don't get any output. That means the folder is empty. It does not have anything. So I want to create a file. So I can say touch and then the file name, select index.html. So this will not do anything. This will just go and create a empty file for me. So likewise, you can create any number of files you want. And then let's say touch index.jsp. So you'll see here my files are getting created. So these are empty files. It does not have anything. You will need to add the data, right? I'll show you how. But at any point, if you want to create any empty files, you can make use of the touch command. Then you have rm command. So you have rm and then you have rmdir. So what? Any idea what is this?
RM is used for remove or delete, and RMDI to delete a whole directory.
Now, at any point, if you want to delete any files, okay, then you can make use of the rm command. So now here, let's say I want to delete this file. So I can use rm and then the file name. Enter, and this will go ahead and delete the file for you. All right. So earlier I had the terraform.tf, and now the file is deleted. Likewise, if you want to delete a folder, I can use rmdir and then the folder name. Now, with this rmdir command, this will only work if the folder is empty. So you can see here it is giving me an error telling directory not empty. So it is telling me there are files inside this directory and I cannot delete them. So only when the directory is empty, your rmdir command will work. Now you have two options over here. You can either go and delete all the files first and then delete the folder, or you can use this rm-rf, which is delete it forcefully. So R, it stands for recursive. So here this R, it stands for recursive, and F is your force. So this you're telling that go ahead and delete all the files, I don't want it. So here I can say rm-rf and then the folder name, and this will go ahead and delete it. Now I should not have this folder. Questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay. Then you have the mv command. Now mv is Okay, let me first talk about your CP. So CP is your copy. All right. So copy files or folders. At any point, if you want to take a backup of the files or you want to take a backup of the folders, right? You can make use of this. You can make use of this CP command. Right. So at any point, if you want to take a backup of the files or you want to take a backup of the folders, or you just want to take a you want to make a copy of the files, then you can make use of the CP command. So here, let's say let me create this once again. Go to this, and then let's say I'll create this index.html file. So I have the file here. Now let's say I want to create a copy of this. I can use copy, your source, and then your destination. Let's say backup. So in my case, I'm simply copying the file in the same directory. I also have the option of copying anywhere I want, even within this Linux operating system. Anywhere I want, I can copy it. Likewise, we have your MV command. The MV is your cut and paste or rename the files or folders. You can do this. So cut and paste is, you cut it from your source and paste it in the destination path, or you can also use it to simply rename your files. So let's say I want to rename this as backup. So here my file has been renamed. For that, we can make use of your MV command. Questions?
No, sir.
All right, so these are some of the very basic commands that you will be using on a very regular basis. So keep that in mind. All these commands that we have discussed. Now, Linux is completely case sensitive. So uppercase, lowercase, you'll have to be very careful with that. Uppercase test and lowercase test. These are two different things as far as your Linux operating system is concerned. So for Linux, these are two different folders. All right. So you'll have to be sorry, you will have to be extremely careful. All right. With the case sensitive things. All right. Your Linux will not understand it if you don't specify it properly. Okay. So here, let's say, for example, I will create this touch index.html. So you see here I have one minute. Maybe because this is Mac OS, but yeah, it could be because this is Mac OS. Mac OS accepts your uppercase and lowercase, so it won't treat it differently. But in Linux, if you see, you will find that difference. All right. So generally, your uppercase and lowercase, you'll have to be very careful with that. Okay. The next command we have is your uname command. Now, if you want to see the information about your operating system, you can make use of the uname command. So uname is a computer program in Linux and other Unix like operating system that prints the name, version, and other details about the current machine and the operating system running on it. So if you want to see, what operating system you are running, you can make use of the uname command. So in my case, this is Darwin. So I'm on Mac, right? So that's the Darwin operating system that I'm running. You can also use few arguments with that. So you can use uname -o -a, right? So here you can see that's the operating system, my computer name, version. This is as to when it was updated, what is the XNU, the release version, and all that information will be available for me. You can also use this uname -s, uname -n. Yeah, so this is basically the computer name and all those things. So anything related to your operating system, if you want to display that, you can make use of the uname command. The next we have your command history. Now Linux also has this good feature, or all the operating systems, it has this good feature of you can always go back and look at the history of the commands that has been executed on your operating system. Okay, so this will simply print out the bash history of the current user to the screen. Commands are numbered with the older commands at the top and the newer commands at the bottom. The history is stored in this file. So here if I type this history command, so if you want to see what all commands you have executed, you can simply run this history command, and these are the commands that I have executed. I mean, obviously there are more commands, but this maintains a history for me. So in total, I've executed 1064 commands, and you should be able to see some of the commands that you've executed. Now, all this, it is getting stored in this file called bash_history. So if I go to that, so tilde, if you go to that path, here you should be able to see this. Let me see if it has. No, it won't have here. Let me see here. Getting this one. Yeah. So this is the file where all the history. So basically, all the commands that you have executed. If you want to see that, you can look at this file. So this is on your Mac OS. This is the file where it is stored. If you're on a Linux machine, this is the file where it will be stored. So essentially, you just have to run this history command, and that will give you a list of all the commands that you have executed. Questions?
Awesome.
So this can be really useful when you have like big commands, like 2-3 lines of commands. Instead of retyping it, you can simply use the history, copy that command, and execute it once again. So it's easier to work with those commands. All right. The next thing we have is a command completion. Now, again, all the operating systems, it also has this nice feature where if you just type in the partial command, and if you hit the tab button, the operating system will try to automatically complete that command. So it allows typing a partial command and then pressing the tab key, which will try to auto complete the commands and its arguments. So here, let's say I will type HIS, and if I hit tab, it will auto complete the rest of the commands. Now, if there are multiple commands with the same name, if I see, if I'm giving H and if I hit tab, now this is telling me that, hey, there are multiple commands. Specify, which one are you looking for? So let's say I'll give HO, and again within HO, these are all the things I have, right? So sometimes your operating system will not be able to evaluate because there might be multiple commands starting with the same characters. But if it does not find any duplicates, it will auto complete the command for you. It is not only commands, your files, your folders, anything you want, you can auto complete it. So let's say, for example, here I have all these things, right? So now let's say I want to go to the downloads. So here I can do CD DOW and then tab, and you can see this auto completes it. Likewise, let's say CD AWS, and these are all the files and folders that are starting with AWS. So let's say course, and again with this, these are all the files I have, and then let's say PPTs. You can see that's the feature you have. So you have this feature in all the operating system, which is auto completion. So you just have to give the partial command, hit the tab, and that will complete the rest of the commands for you automatically. Okay, that's your command completion. Question?
No, Ravi.
All right. Next, we are going to talk about your variables. So like how in any programming language we have your variables, Linux also we have your variables. So this is a symbolic chunk of memory to which we can assign values, we can read and manipulate the content of it. Generally, when we talk about your environments, we have two types of environment variables. We have the environment. So this is one. So we have the environment variables, and we also have this user defined variables. So environment variables is the one that will be used with your computer, and user defined are the ones that you are going to define whenever you want. Right? So Linux environment variables act as placeholders for information stored within the system that passes the data to programs launched in shells. So if you want to see um, what all variables, environment variables you have in your machine, you can use this env command. Env is basically your environment variables, and all these are my environment variables. So I have the variable name and the value, variable name and the value. So if I want to use any of, so you can see this PWT. So basically it is returning me this value for me. So if I say PWT, it is simply returning this value for me. Likewise, let's say if I want to see the shell, this is nothing but I am, I'm just calling these variables over here. That's it, nothing else, right? So this is your environment variables, and then you'll have the user defined variables. So user defined variables are basically any variables that you have defined in a script. We can call that as your user defined variables. So let's say here I'll create one simple script. So let's call this as test.sh, and let's say I will write, so then bash, and let's say message is equal to hello world, then let's say echo dollar message. I'll save this, and then let me give the execute permission to this, and I will execute this. So I get the output. So essentially what we are doing here is we are defining one variable, we are giving it the value, and here we are calling that variable. So this is a user defined variable. You as a user, you are defining the variable here. So generally in any programs, right, whenever you define any variables, that's your user defined variables. Questions?
No, Ravi.
Bharat, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we have your help command. Now, I mean, see, no one can be an expert at anything, right? There's always room for learning, right? There's always a chance that uh, you may not know few things. Now, we have this, help command that we can use to get more information about how you can work with the command, how you can use that command, or more information about that command itself as to what is that command, what it does, and then so on. So if you're not sure how to use a specific command or how to run that command, we can make use of this --help flag. Okay, so with this you will see the usage information and a list of options you can use with that command. So let's say you want to understand your nano command. You want to know what is nano, what it does, right? So we can use that option. So here I can say nano --help. Cannot this one. So I can use let's say touch. So touch --. Okay, then let me try this and get yeah. Looks like it won't work here. Give me 1 minute. Let me quickly launch one EC2 instance here. That seems to be not working. I'm on the Mac, so that's a little different operating system. Okay. So now here, if I give nano and then hyphen help, it gives me a usage and also the options that I can use with that command. Okay, so these are all the options that are available. So, save backups of existing files, create a directory for saving unique backup files, no new line. So don't add an automatic new line. So likewise, you'll have different options that, basically it will tell you what are the various options that you can use with that particular command. Likewise, let's say if I say touch hyphen help, these are all the options that I can use with the touch command. So change only the access time, do not create any files, change the specified time, all these options. So, if you want to see what all options that are available with the command, you can make use of this hyphen help option. Okay, so it's simply a documentation for you. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Next, the man command. Now, this is another way for you to, see. Again, this is used to get the documentation about a particular command. So this man command, it simply stands for manual pages. Okay, so the man command is used to format and display the man pages. The man pages are a user manual that is by default built into the Linux distributions. Man pages are documentation for almost all the command line tools, and you can easily access them from the command line using the man command. So now let's say I want to know how your nano works. So I can use man and then the command, and this will open up a documentation for me. So name, synopsis, and a description. So Nano is a small and friendly editor. It copies the look and feel of Pico, but is a free software and implements several features that Pico lacks. So, something like that. And then you can also see all the options. What are all the options that you can use when that you can pass when using this nano command. To exit from here, you can simply press Q, and then again, let's say man touch, and that's your documentation for the touch command. So update the access and modification types of each file to the current time, and the options that are available over here. So like this, if you want to see the documentation or if you want to see the additional information about your commands, any commands, you can make use of this man command over here. You also have one more command, which is the info command. This is also another useful tool that can be used to get the documentation, additional information about the Linux commands. Right. So here I can same thing what your man does. So I can say info nano, and this will also open up the documentation. Okay, so here you will find everything. So this is more detailed information for you compared to man. This is more detailed information. So again, touch, what it does, and then the various options that are available. So at any point, even if you don't know what a command does, what are the various options are available, it's totally fine. You can always get that from the documentation that is available. Okay, so this is about getting the help for your Linux commands. Any questions?
No, sir.
Oh, no.
The next command we have is your df command. Now, at any point, if you want to check the disk capacity, your storage capacity, what is the total storage capacity, how much is used, how much is remaining, if you want that information, you can make use of this df command. So df, it stands for disk file system, and by default, this is what you will see. So if you look at this one, this is our actual storage. However, if you say this is showing in your KB format, and that can be a little difficult to understand. So let's say I want to print this in an easily understandable format. So I can use this help, and here if you see this one, so print sizes in powers of 1024, which is nothing but in your MB format. Okay, so I want to see the size in the MB format, right? So I can make use of this -h flag. So here df-h, and now you see this is much better for us to understand, right? So total we have 8 GB, out of which 1.5 GB is used, 6.5 GB is available, 19% has been used, and it is mounted to my root. So like this, if you want to see your storage capacity, how much is used, how much is remaining, you can make use of this df-h command. Likewise, if you want to see your memory capacity, your RAM capacity, then we can use this free command. So again, this won't really show us in a easily readable format. So I can use your help, and here you can see if you want to see in the KB, MB, GB, human readable, you can specify this. So let's say free-h, and this is what I have. So 949 MB is what we have allocated. 147 MB is used. 544 MB is free. So basically, a cache we have 258. So 662 is what is available for us. So if you want to see this into GB, I can use -g or -m, and this is in your same thing, right? And this is in your MB format. So this is your memory, RAM capacity. So how much of RAM is allocated, how much of RAM is available. For that, we can make use of your free-m command. You also have one more tool called memstat, but this is not available by default. You will need to install that. This can also be used to check your memory statistics. So it's not available in the Amazon Linux, but you also have this tool which can be used to see your memory statistics. Questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay. Next, we are going to talk about your users. So generally, when we talk about your users, any operating systems, right? We have two types of users. We have the root user, and then we have the non-root users. Okay, so generally, whenever we talk about your user, so we have your root users, and then we'll have your non-root users. So root users are your admin users, right? So anyone who has the admin privileges, they are called as your root users, and these root users can do anything. So these are your super users, and these users have the ability to do anything they want on the operating system. So therefore, in order to protect against potential damage, sudo is used in place of root. So here, if you see, it says root. So you can become a root user by running the sudo su command. If you run basically telling this will become a user. Now, it is recommended that you should never run your commands as a super user. That is, you should not be running your command as a root user. You should be running it as a non-root user. So anything other than root user, we call it as your non-root user. Now, sometimes though, what happens is your non-root users may not have the sufficient permission. So here, let's say I'll try installing an Apache server, and you see I'm getting an error. So this command has to be run with super user privileges. So in that case, what you can do is instead of becoming a sudo user, you can use sudo. So when you're running this command, when you're passing this command, you can pass this sudo command. So basically what you're doing here is you're giving super user permissions, but only for this command. And this will go ahead and install it. So as a non-root user, you're not having the root privileges, but still you're giving that command only for that command the root privileges. So sudo allows users access to commands they normally would not be able to use. So sudo will allow a user to have admin privileges without logging in as a root user. Make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
That's all for today. Tomorrow I will talk about about your standard users, how you can create your users, and we'll talk a bit more tomorrow on this. So a few more things are there which I will discuss tomorrow. Okay.
Sure, Abhi.
Yep. So that's all for today. So tomorrow we will finish off with your Linux. We will complete the remaining topics, and then if time permits, we will also start off with your DevOps introduction. Okay.
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 All right. Cool. Thanks, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.